Are these stars on Amethyst's knees holes or patches? Genuine question, because I can't tell. I've had this discussion before, and I've never been able to decide. You ever notice that the moon is almost always half full in this show? It was full 2 episodes ago because it was plot relevant, but every time that it's just there in the background, it's half full. I'm only going to start complaining when the passage of time becomes important. Steven never wears this yellow shirt. Genuinely, it's the last time it's seen. Oh, stool check. All 3 stools are accounted for. You can just barely see this one.
Have you seen a gem shard anywhere? It's very important.
Gem shards are an interesting concept that comes up a lot in this show. This is the only time where they're shown to have this kind of power, though. The rest of the time, they grow into weird body part monsters. I'll discuss that when they come up in later episodes. No goddamn way neither of you saw that run by just now. And the stools are gone. That didn't take long. They're all sorts of fucked up in this scene. These shots are back to back and they're not consistent.
Ha! Now who's smart? Ow! 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 Ow!
You ever put a bunch of nickels in a sock and whack someone with it? No, well, me neither, but that's probably what this feels like. Good backpack continuity. Steven's cheeseburger backpack sticks around until future, believe it or not. But what I always thought was weird is that the gem shard doesn't take control of the backpack. I'm sure it can't take control of both the sock and the backpack, but if it fell out of the sock, this episode might have played out differently. Something I thought the show always did well, better than a lot of other cartoons, is to have so many episodes in Beach City, but each time it feels different. The last episode in town was Laser Light Cannon during sunset and when the red eye made everything look orange. This episode is foggy and gloomy, clearly after a rainstorm. It just feels like this location is always changing, like it's alive.
I'm not fries!
You sure look like it, not as much as your dad, but still. Also, Peetey. This is kind of a weird character. I never got Peetey's vibe, really, because this episode is really the only spotlight he gets. The rest of the show, his character is selling fries and being Ronaldo's brother. It's weird that he gets his own episode this early on, and then never again in the whole show. Speaking of Ronaldo, look at this smug son of a bitch in the background, doing what he does, posting on his blog or whatever. This is the only time he appears in this episode.
Keep at it, Frybo.
I'm Peetey. Hi, Peetey!
Alright, this is Steven's actual character. He's so happy and positive, even just to see someone he probably sees all the time. He's not annoying or childish in this episode, finally.
Nothing to worry about back then except making myself dizzy on the old seahorse ride at Funland.
I think the writers missed an opportunity to make Peetey more as a character foil for Steven. He could have been the down-to-earth friend that brought Steven back to reality when he needed it. I mean, his dialogue in this episode is overdone to the point of parody. He's like 11 years old after all. But the opportunity was right there, and the writers just didn't take it.
I wish there was a way for this costume to do its job without me in it.
Maybe it can.
I like this subversion. Peetey's obvious lead-in to this episode's conflict and then Steven being in the costume, it still catches me off guard, even after rewatching this episode more times than I can remember.
Wow.
It's always so refreshing to see Peetey react like this to magic. In later episodes, the townies are usually indifferent or apprehensive towards magic, but Peetey has a reaction that an actual kid would have to something like this. I don't know for sure where these fries come from, but I like to imagine this costume being so disgusting and unwashed that it's just tons of old fries that have been dropped and lost in the folds over the years. If you say they're made of magic, that's too easy, that's boring.
Just go make people eat fries.
This whole episode kind of hinges on the fact that characters say lines in super specific ways. Even new viewers are going to get the idea that saying, make people eat fries is going to have, by any means possible, tacked on the end. This jellyfish ride is weird, right? It just shakes around, doesn't spin or anything. I don't know, I've never seen a kiddie ride like that in real life. Also, this is the first time we see the Funland arcade, which is not part of Funland, weirdly enough. The arcade is on the boardwalk, close to the fry shop, but the amusement park is on the other side of town. Also, did you know you can get pizza here? Because I didn't until today o'clock.
This seahorse used to make me so happy. Now it's just giving me whiplash.
You don't get whiplash from something that slow. This kid is so dramatic.
You pick up a job to buy a house or raise kids or to impress your dad.
This is parody, right? We just met Peetey 2 minutes ago and he's doing an emotional soliloquy. This is the fastest character arc in the whole show. The first appearance of Jenny, Kiki, Sour Cream, and Buck are all as background characters. Kind of unceremonious if you ask me. At least they managed to give Ronaldo a little bit of character when he showed up earlier. What's wrong with your face? Did you get stung by a bee? Does Frybo have bees inside?
We didn't tell him to do that. Did we tell him to do that?
Steven and Peetey have some inhuman reaction time to this table. They weren't even looking and managed to duck out of the way. Remember when this was the creepiest thing this show had to offer? We were so naive back then. Don't get me wrong, this is fantastic, but this is just the tip of the iceberg for this show's horror.
I don't even like fries.
Hold on, let me write that down. Hold on. Lars doesn't like fries. Got it, noted.
You're a valued member of Fryman Brothers Incorporated and all its affiliates.
Fryman Brothers Incorporated, like Peetey and Ronaldo Brothers? Or how big is this company exactly?
What are you gonna do?
My job!
Fuck yes, I love this moment, even though it doesn't go anywhere. Steven's on that high of doing gem stuff, even this early. It feels like justice for Peetey being such a sad sack for half this episode. Look at this frame, and then look at this one. That's it, that's all I wanted to show you.
Did you put my missing shard in that Fry costume?
Yes!
Didn't you hear what I said about the living armor and infantries and many, many deaths?
No!
Steven's a lot of things, but a liar isn't one of them. That's good in these situations. You gotta know exactly what's going on so you know what you're up against. Also, if you listen closely to Pearl's lecture earlier in this episode, which I did, she didn't say anything about many, many deaths. You can't even blame Steven for that. How often does Pearl use her spear as an actual spear? She did it in the last episode against the breakfast monster, but more than half the time she uses it like a glaive. No, I'm not smart. Someone else in the comments called it a glaive. Here's the Cartoon Network PG blood and gore. Ketchup for the blood, and you can show someone getting stabbed in the eye as long as it's not human. Definitely adds to the horror factor. They really got away with a lot in this episode. What the fuck? That impact sounded so good. I would have been happy if I'd gone the rest of my life without seeing Steven's man titties. He's so lumpy in this shot. He's not this lumpy in the rest of the show. Someone just wanted to draw a fat kid anatomy. I would have been happy if I'd gone the rest of my life without seeing Steven's bare ass. Behnchin.
As soon as I bared my butt, I knew he'd crack.
It must be some sort of rite of passage for cartoons to have a butt joke, and a scene involving the main character being naked in some way. I could name like 5 other shows that have done the same thing, just off the top of my head. Nudity isn't funny, is it? Do kids think it's funny? I never did, I just thought it was weird. Interesting that these clothes didn't go rogue like Frybo did.
Kids today just didn't understand. Now, they never will.
Weren't people scared of it before he attacked them?
Yeah, shush, I'm doing the analyzing here. A Viking funeral for a mascot costume is pretty metal, honestly. Also, this shot is really pretty. It's a full moon, too. I just talked about how it's always a half moon, and now the show's trying to spite me. It's back, but it's in a different spot now. This episode is weird. Good weird. This show does weird really well. This is actually the first Townie episode, but it's a good one. The horror is great. There's new magic stuff in the form of shards, even though Pearl is only in it a little bit. Steven has some great moments, but it kind of falls on its face in that last scene. The fight scene is cool, and all the characters are doing things, but when Steven gets naked to save the day, it just takes me out of the moment. It's definitely a case of the writers wanting to do a creepy, serious episode, but being too afraid to go all the way. They had to remind the audience that this is a silly adventure cartoon for kids. There are way more serious episodes later in the show, and they get a lot better at not giving you whiplash with the tone shift. Not the whiplash that Peetey had, that's not real. Tonal whiplash. Now that we're done here, I have to do the thing. You know the thing. Like and subscribe. I've been trying to do these once a week, and I've kept up with it so far. Every Wednesday afternoon I should have one up, if you want to keep up with new episodes. Speaking of new episodes, next week is more body horror. See you there.